So, I'm recording this before the Netflix live action. I haven't watched the trailer. I'm not going to watch the trailer, but I have seen the cast photos and I am already tired. This type of project, because some of the characters have been race swapped and race changed, it's going to attract a certain type. I can already see the videos. They made another one black. Like, my problem with the cast, it's literally the costuming, the design. I don't think just sticking blue lipstick on someone is like, oh, okay, they're this character. Like, no, the costuming is lazy. It's just lazy. Like, they just gave that actress, what, an eye patch? And was like, oh, that's this character. They didn't bother with her hair. They didn't bother with even making her look like the character, which is already like several red flags. It's crazy. First of all, most of them just wear high school uniforms. They're just uniforms. You can't tell me that after the One Piece Netflix live action, ah man, we just can't do these outfits. We had to just give him a bunny ear hat. They could have really went silly with it. Give him an orange jacket with the dog-eared hoodie. If you really want him to look grounded, he can just wear the hoodie down. But no, not really. Everything has to be boring now. They gave the actress from Mary the pigtails, but for some reason no one wears the uniform jacket, or if they wear it, they don't wear it correctly. Like this one dude that I'm looking at, he's just wearing a wife beater. Okay, I don't know what kind of elite high school you guys are going to, but you're just wearing a wife beater in public. No tie, no nothing. Okay. From what I've seen in these cast photos, the only two that they even bothered to look a little bit like the characters is Mary and Yumiko. No one else. Like, you just give that girl an eye patch, but you're just like, don't worry about the hair and makeup and everything. Just give her an eye patch. They'll know who she is. I'm going to reiterate this again. It's not about the race swapping and it's not about the gender swapping. It's about the lack of effort, which is like, if you're going to adapt an anime, why are you making it boring? I don't understand. Imagine if you were watching the stage play of Hamilton. The majority of people don't complain about the race of the Hamilton characters. There is always a small faction of people. And it doesn't matter that the characters are black, it doesn't matter that they're white, it doesn't matter that they're Hispanic, it wouldn't even matter if they're Asian, as long as they look like the characters. And that's the part I'm not seeing in this adaptation. If you say like the hair colors in the anime are so unrealistic, we're trying to make it more realistic, then you've missed the point of the anime, and why are you adapting this anime? Why are you you know what? Get the One Piece director. I know he's tired from doing this season, but like, get him. Bring him over here. Have him sit down in a chair and watch Kakegurui, and then he can make a live action. That's the only guy that I think should be able to touch any Netflix live action project from now on. Also, the main student council girl, the vibes that I'm getting from the images that I've seen from her. In the anime, the student council president, the reason why she's the student council president and why she made the school the way it is, because she was bored. Because she was so good at gambling, she is so good at gambling, that no one can get on her level. She wants someone to beat her, but no one can because she's so skilled. She's not just gonna like throw a game, right? That's no fun. But she wants to be beaten because she's so bored. She wants to find something worthy of beating her. And I feel like the type of directors that Netflix hires, they're gonna look at that motivation and be like, that's not enough. How will American audiences understand such a motivation? And I don't want to rag on the director, but this is a track record with their live action adaptations. Like with the Avatar live action adaptations, they were like, we want to make this Game of Thrones. Why? They like seem to think that the cartoon was all sunshines and rainbows and never had a dark moment. People died. To say that about Avatar The Last Airbender is insane to me, because for the time that it came out, that cartoon was dark. For the time. If someone made a live action adaptation of Adventure Time, looked at the scenes with the Ice King, and they were like, this is kind of childish. Like, what do you have eyes? Also, the Witcher adaptation. If you actually look it up, the people behind the Witcher adaptation have said on record, Americans are too stupid for complex stories. That's why they didn't adapt the book the way it is, because Americans are so dumb. Just based on their track record and based on what I'm seeing from the posters and the images, it's like they think that the anime was too wild and silly and it needs to be more grounded. That's why the costuming is lame. That's why they don't even bother with the makeup or the hair, because it needs to be more realistic. And everyone needs a motivation. And I feel like the student council president being like, I'm bored, is a motivation. Like, look at Squid Games. Okay, Squid Game season 1 came out so long, I paused because I was like, is this a spoiler? But Squid Game season 1 is old, and I also haven't watched 2. I've seen a bunch of TikToks with 2. You know the guy, the very good actor? There are so many TikToks of him, you know the one I'm talking about. The one that can like change his face on a dime. And also about Top, of course. What was I doing? What was I saying? Hold on. Yeah, the rich people in Squid Games, they don't need a motivation. Their motivation isn't, oh man, my father dropped me off of a bridge when I was 3 years old and he was a common man. And now I torture the common man because I am broken inside. No, the rich people are bored. They're bored. There is no like deeper reason for them to be watching Squid Games other than we want to. We're bored and rich and we have the money to do this. So why not? That motivation is way more sinister. I don't really want to throw shots at Mr. Beast right now. Well, I mean, he's never gonna see this, so who cares? Anyway, Mr. Beast, right? Why did he create Squid Games? Why did he create Beast Games? Because he could. Because he has the money to do it. There's no deeper motivation. He has the money to do it, he wants more money, and because he could. Literally, that's it. There is no deeper motivation about helping people. There's no deeper motivation like, I am the Joker and I was traumatized and I've been beaten up by society and I want to see other people traumatized and I want to see other people go through these games for my entertainment. No, he has the money to buy venues, he has the money to get all these sponsorships, he has the money to get people to support his version of Squid Games, and so he does it. He doesn't have to, no one's forcing him, but he does it. I don't really think that Mr. Beast made Squid Games with the intention of torturing people. But I do think when you're so high above the common person, like you don't see their suffering, you don't see their struggles as suffering and struggles. You see them as entertainment for yourself. And I feel like the student council president is in that same vein, but it is cruelty that's happening in that school. Because if they do their best, their future is set. If you lose everything and you go to the bottom of the school, that's way more powerful than feeling the need to make it about something or to make it about someone. They just want to be entertained. I hope that I've made it clear that I don't have a problem with race swapping if it's not lazy. Like if I decide to be like, I'm Hamilton and I dress like I'm from 2025, except I wear like, I think he wears glasses, I'm Hamilton. It's like, no, you're not. And it doesn't have to do with your race. You're not even trying. Until it comes out, I will reserve further judgment. So, before we start, I have something to say. I made a post talking about Kakegurui recently, and I recommended it to people. I don't take that recommendation back, but when I rewatched it in preparation for Bet, it's a lot more TVMA than I remembered. I think I blocked a lot of it out, to be honest. I remember some scenes, but I don't remember some other scenes that happened. I still recommend the series, the anime, but I think the rating, honestly, on Netflix should be TVMA. Just because it's animated doesn't make it TV-14. Kakegurui is a lot like Squid Games, if Squid Games was set in high school. But instead of death, you lose ownership of your own life. It's the kind of school that makes politicians and influential figures. Yumiko is the co-protagonist of the anime. The other protagonist is Ryota, but we'll get to him. Yumiko is a lot. She's insane. She's just frankly insane. It's because she is a true compulsive gambler. Like, she comes to the school, but she's not here to prove a point. She's not here to make a statement. She's not even really here to change the school. In fact, she loves the school as it is because it allows her to gamble to her heart's content. If she were put into a gambling rehab center, it would end up as a casino by the end of the day. She's that type of character. Throughout the anime, people attempt to figure out her motives. They attempt to like psychoanalyze her and give her actions meaning and reason. But no, Yumiko's in it for the love of the game. She will take risks that don't make sense in order to prolong the game. The only really rule that Yumiko abides by is that the stakes have to be fair. If she's staking her life, you have to stake something equal to your life. A pretty big component of her when she gambles is that Yumiko really loves to psychologically destroy her opponents.
Shame you must feel after such a staggering defeat in this game that you worked so hard to rig. Will you ever be able to redeem yourself?
Anakin, stop. She's pleading with you.
You're such a buzzkill.
The school is winner take all. It's not just about the money, but it's about the power and influence that you get from winning. You might even end up on the student council, and the student council runs the school. They make it a point to say what each character in the student council does. This information, this is a tool that we're gonna use later. I need to explain this because when I'm explaining the show, you will see what it lacks. Like the student board treasurer, he's in charge of all the finances in the school. The treasury is basically in his pocket. Midari, she's the head of the beautification committee. We don't exactly get to know what the beautification committee does in season 1, but she implies that the beautification committee gets rid of the messes in the school, like the unsavory things that might go on behind the scenes. She and her committee clean that up. And Yumiko, when she transfers to the school, she quickly turns it upside down. And the student council president, she literally says, "There's a snake in my garden." Just to get the setting and the feel of the school out there, Mary attempts to take advantage of the new kid, Yumiko. And this backfires on her. Not only does Yumiko catch her cheating, but she also psychologically destroys her in the process. Mary and her play a card game. The way she cheats in this card game is that she's surrounded by people she's beaten in house pets. And Ryota is the normal kid. Like, he's the normal kid perspective of that school. You see how the school is to Yumiko through her absolute crazy, and then you see how the school is normally for normal people. Well, normal for a while. Yumiko's like a disease. She infects those around her. And so Ryota is Mary's house pet. Because he's standing behind Yumiko, he's able to signal Mary to cheat. And this is important because the first episode of Bet makes me angry. In house pets, a quick explanation of house pets because they're mentioned a lot and the show, we'll get to that. Adding to what I said in part 1 about the cruelty of the school is that the school is basically a classism experiment. Everyone in the school has free will. They're not forced to gamble, but they want to gamble because if they win, they could possibly become the top of the school. But if they lose, it's like you're not just a regular student, you're the bottom of the bottom. The people that were friends with you yesterday will turn on you. If there's blood in the water, the sharks will bite, no matter who it is. The school brings out the best and the worst in the students. And this brings me to the show, which Netflix decided to call Bet. And while I was watching, I looked up an interview from the producer, I think, and he said that the anime was so good that they didn't want to make something that might replace it or might even come close to it because they know they can't. So they decided to take a fresh spin on it to make it their own thing, make it basically inspired by the anime. And I think he lied. I think he lied through his teeth. Because after watching all 10 episodes of Bet, I don't think anyone who worked on the show actually saw the anime. Like, I just plainly don't believe it. Like, the producer of the show, it says directed by, written by Simon Barry. I think that's episode 10 that says that. There are other writers for other episodes, but the producer is Simon Barry. And frankly, I hope he never sees this, because I wouldn't say it to his face, but put down the pen forever. It ended kind of on a cliffhanger, like they're expecting to get a second season. I'm sorry, that's not happening, my friend. A great man from Attack on Titan once said, "Give up on your dreams and die." Okay, not that far, but yeah, he said that in that interview, and either he asked ChatGTP to give him a summary of Kakegurui, or he had a Netflix exec sit down with him and give him a summary of Kakegurui. Or he had someone in his family who watched anime and explained Kakegurui to him. You know, like a second person's perspective of Kakegurui. Because after watching it, I don't believe he watched it. I frankly don't believe it. It's that kind of show. And saying that he wanted to make it different, to make his own thing, that's also a lie. I'm convinced that he had no faith in the project being able to stand on its own. Because they take the names of the characters and Americanize them. Midori becomes Dory. Kirara, I don't think I said that right. She becomes Kira. Itsuki becomes Suki. You wanted to make this project your own thing, but you had so little faith in it that you didn't use any original characters. Like, you still could have had it at St. Dominic's Prep, which is how they named the school, but with an entirely new cast of characters. I have this exact opinion about the Death Note movie. Imagine if instead of like giving American actors the exact same names as the anime and the manga and basically doing all the plot beats but worse, what if they literally made it American Death Note? It would have made sense in the lore too. If they were good writers, it could have been an extremely good show, like an add-on to the original, like this happening in another part of the world. But no, and that's basically Bet. And the reason why I went into so much detail with her match with Mary in the anime is because the first episode basically copies it. Sort of. The dialogue is so bad in this. Like, Yumiko, for some reason, has a roommate, and her roommate asks her what kind of games she likes to play. You know, board games, card games, darts. And Yumiko's response is, I like to play any type of game, as long as it's with people. Ma'am, what does that mean? What does that mean? Do you normally play with animals? What does that mean? I like to play any type of game as long as it's with people? I would love for anyone in the comments to tell me what that could possibly mean. It's a line that stuck with me through the entire watching experience because it sums up the dialogue. And also, the worst thing you can do for this kind of show is make it boring. And guess what they did? So it starts off with Yumiko in a different school. I don't know what this scene accomplishes. It could have been cut out and nothing changes. She's in detention. This is her second strike. She got caught gambling on campus or something. And the detention teacher is gambling with her. Like, he has a whole gambling table with other students. She's on basically her last strike. She's not supposed to gamble at all. And he's enabling her, that's the word. He's enabling her to gamble. And she does, and she beats him, and he accuses her of cheating. And I don't remember what she says, it doesn't matter. But like, the principal comes in and is like, Yumiko, you're on your third strike, you're expelled. So Yumiko gets expelled. And she goes out to her guardian, and the conversation that they have implies that she got expelled on purpose. Would you like to know why? Too bad. After 10 episodes, I could not tell you why that scene happened. So she arrives at St. Dominic's Prep as a transfer student. How familiar. She meets, well, let's talk about Ryan and Michael. You know Ryota, who I briefly mentioned as being the co-protagonist of the anime? They split him into two people. Why? I don't know. I'm making it different from the original. I don't know. Both of them fill Ryota's role, but worse. They eliminated him as the co-protagonist completely. Like, he barely has any agency except to, you don't even know which one I'm talking about. I like the editing in this, but they sort of give up about halfway through. That's literally the only praise I can give to Bet. All the budget was spent on the soundtrack. In the first 10 seconds, you'll hear Billie Eilish. In the last episode, you'll hear Megan Thee Stallion. The songs don't fit the scene at all. They don't. So back to episode 1, she goes up to Ryan and she's like, wow, I didn't know they had toilet valets at this school. And at first I just was baffled by this dialogue, but I think she was attempting to make a joke, but he's just like, I'm not a toilet valet. The second that he sees her arrive at the school, he falls in love with her. He says that he's a house pet, doesn't explain what it is. You will never get an explanation for what a house pet is. So if you didn't watch the anime or read the manga or have any prior knowledge of what's going on here, good luck. Like, it sounds so bad and they don't explain it. The only thing that they do is that when she goes to see what Mary's doing, in basically the same vein as the anime, Mary is so aggressive and mean in Bet, and I'm tired, guys. There's this trend that I can't help but notice when directors and writers swap a character's race to black. They either make the character confrontational, aggressive, or they strip any emotion from that character. You might think I'm crazy, but it's happened 3 times. 1, Invincible, Amber. They made her unreasonable and confrontational when I hear she wasn't like that in the comic. 2, the Percy Jackson live action adaptation. They made Annabeth sort of less emotional. There's this scene where Annabeth learns a very deep, hurtful secret about someone she's supposed to be very, very close to. Like, closer to than the protagonist at this point in the story. And she doesn't react at all. She barely reacts. The third instance is here. Because Mary, she does use Ryota as a footstool. but they sort of took it to another level in the show where she grabs him by the tie and she literally throws him down to the floor and then puts her feet on him. Like, it makes her instantly 10 times more unlikable than she was in the anime. And she is unlikable in the anime. She's supposed to be, because she's like a perpetrator of the system. She's benefiting from the system. But there's an important difference that I'm going to get to. It's like during the Purge, the scenario that they set up, that you have 24 hours to do what you want. And then people, their worst impulses come out because they're not going to get punished for it. And it's like that with the house pets. As long as you're not violent with them, you can do whatever you want to a house pet. Whoever told Simon Barry about the anime, they clearly didn't understand that part. For some reason, they made Mary's cheating extremely obvious. Like, her eyes move and she looks at Ryota. And it's treated as such a big deal that she beat Mary and she's so good. And it's like, everyone in that room could have seen you look at him. Is Yumiko really that brilliant for seeing your eyes move to someone behind her? Clearly taking a sign or something? This show, it's like subtlety is dead and they don't explain anything at the same time. I don't know how those two coexist, but they do in this show. Nothing is subtle. They have to put everything in your face. But at the same time, they don't explain anything. Like the cheating. Mary was extremely subtle about it. She wouldn't have gotten where she is if she looked around the room at everyone every time she cheated. Seeing Mary cheat so obviously made me wonder, how did she get on the student council? And let me just tell you that the games in this are so lame. Watching this show was an exercise in self-control. I felt like a Gen Alpha iPad kid. I was like fiending to look at my phone. I've never felt that way before. I had to fight it because I knew if I went on my phone, I would instantly stop paying attention to the show and miss everything. Here's the difference between the anime and the show. The biggest difference. Because I never understood, in the show, they didn't seem like friends. But they were, I guess. Because, of course, in beginner's writing class for babies and infants, in the third act, they had to have a fight. And they're not friends anymore. I didn't know they were friends. No one in this show is likable, I'll tell you that right now. Everyone has the chemistry of a dead ant on fire. In the anime, Mary loses so catastrophically that this instantly makes her a house pet. She comes to school the next day and her desk is vandalized. Like, we're in Mary's perspective for this. And she sees the people who were just buddy-buddy with her and who were just on her side are now laughing at her. And it really, really makes you understand what type of school this is and make her more likable because now she's suffering this same fate. But in the show, cut that scene out. We don't need that scene. Making Mary likable? Please. They just tell you that house pets are treated terribly. And if you just watch the show, you won't believe it. Every once in a while, Mary will be asked to be a footstool. But other than that, she's able to walk around the halls. It's like she doesn't act like a house pet, or she doesn't act like someone who's supposed to be at the bottom of the school. So this scene doesn't happen. She gets kicked out of the school council. This makes her sad. Yumiko finds her outside crying on a bench and she comforts her. And I have to ask why. Yumiko even says, based on the way that you play, I'd bet on you. You mean the way she loses? Cause what? Something happened off screen that I don't know about? You'd bet on her cause she loses real good. Okay. And now they're friends. Well, it's something that may as well happen. And the next episode is... I really hate this student council. I hate them because you never find out what their purpose is. Kira, during lunch in the first episode, she sits on a throne, a literal throne, and she's surrounded by the other student council members. I mean, they're the top of the school, clearly, but what does that mean? What do they do? Other than answer to her and follow her orders, what do they do? Because it never says that any of them are like the treasurer or the secretary or handle the paperwork or anything. They just sit around a glowing table for several episodes straight. There's also someone named Chad, who I'm not even sure is on the student council, but he's sometimes in that room. There is this influencer student council member, and it turns out I was sort of wrong. The bunny-eared guy, I think his name is Rex, he is not Runa, but they named him Rex, which I can't help but think was on purpose. Because if you were going to gender swap and Americanize Runa, you'd probably name him Rex. So I feel like they did that on purpose, and I'm not wrong. I'm holding my hands up. So Suki is an influencer. It's like what boomers think an influencer is. It makes him so unlikable. He's like one of those influencers that invades your personal space for content. The most annoying of prank YouTubers. And they actually made up a game for this one. I thought Icebreaker would be an interesting game. It turns out lame and pretty much the embodiment of the problem with this series. Kira is like Suki, attack boy, attack. And so he does. And Suki's game, Icebreaker, he brings up all your most embarrassing secrets, and they're both wearing heart monitors. And if your heart monitor goes up past 86, I think. But in the preview that they showed us of the first girl he beat before Yumiko, her heartbeat went up to 100, and that's when she lost. Or maybe he just didn't stop it at 86? I don't know. So Yumiko's playing this game. She goes under the fake name, I don't remember, I don't care. Her purpose in coming to the school is to find out who killed her parents. It's unintentionally funny because when she's a kid, her parents leave, they get in their car, and then it explodes. It's not supposed to be funny, but it's funny. And she comes to the school trying to find out more about the Kakegurui club. And it's a club at the school that her parents were a part of along with other former elites of the school who graduated. They go into the same spiel about the school being for the elite and powerful, but they sort of expand on it because they say that it's for like the sons of gangsters and mobsters, but we never see any of that. So I don't know why they bothered changing it, but she's there for revenge. Honestly, this is a poor man's 91 Days. And if you haven't seen the anime, please go watch it. It's so underrated. By the end of this season, I was like, this is 91 Days from Wish. It really is. So Suki is an influencer and he really gets off on making people feel horrible about themselves. And he uses the fake information to try and get at her, but her heartbeat doesn't go up. He does manage to get a little bit of a rise out of her. Then she looks at Michael in the crowd and calms down, which is not how hearts work, I think. And then she managed to dig up, she and Michael, because Michael is a tech whiz. Michael is whatever the plot needs him to be. Don't worry about it. She managed to dig up an old video on Suki. Before he was Suki, when he was Sean, his whole brand is based on being like, I don't use fur. And he also shills his products, which is not what his Japanese counter. Well, yes, but like, you're missing the point. Itsuki in the anime, she's basically the daughter of business owner who owns a extremely famous toy company and toy product company. She's at the school because she's set to inherit that business, and she's there to promote her family business. Like, the cards that she uses are brand cards from the company. Like, she just doesn't shill random products to be like, I'm an influencer, you get it? I'm sponsored, you get it? Because I'm an influencer. You get it? I'm an influencer and I'm sponsored and I get products to shill. You get it? And Yumiko reveals that this brand was fake and that in the past he used to use leather and kill animals. She wins because of that. She wins because she dug up an old video of when he used to hunt things and he gets up and runs away crying. The game seems interesting, and then she wins in the absolute lamest way possible. If you became vegan in your like mid to late 20s, but before that, you ate meat, and if someone found that out, does that make you a fake vegan? I don't think that's how that works. If you became lactose intolerant in your 30s, but before that you could drink milk perfectly fine, are you a liar? If I dig up a video of you drinking milk in your teens, should people look at you suspiciously? Like, I watched her reveal that and I was just straight faced because I didn't get what the big deal was. I still don't get what the big deal was. And all he had to say was, it's in my past. The end. Because Yumiko's bet was like, I'll make you lose all your followers. And then she started doing side bets and people were like, oh, never unfollow Suki. And it's like, what is happening? It's like treated as this big climactic event, but the games in this show tell me that no one could even bother doing a second of research on casino games. Like, not a moment. They have never set foot inside a casino and they didn't bother to use Google. They're like, nah, we can do this. I'll do it from memory. It's still the lamest episode to date. If I was at the school, I'd be looking around the crowd like, what? Why are we booing? I understood the concept of making him lose all his followers, but I was expecting some actual like dirt. It's called Icebreaker, and no ice was broken, actually. Everything was still in the freezer by the end. And the thing is, in a later episode, he does exactly that. He's like, that was in the past. And they don't bring up how he could have said that at any time during episode 2. Of course, because the plot didn't need him to say that at that time, because Yumiko needed to win, because she doesn't lose, except when she wants to. Yumiko in the show is an honorable gambler. She doesn't cheat. She's willing to do anything to take a risk, but she doesn't cheat. And, no? Yumiko in the anime cheats. The only time, which makes me think they got an online summary from like Reddit or something, the only time that she absolutely refuses to cheat is in episode 12 when she's going up against the student council president. And the only reason she doesn't want to cheat is because she values that match so much above the others that she doesn't want to taint it, which tells you about her insanity. But it's not because she's an honorable gambler. There's a whole episode dedicated to a game where it's only cheating if you get caught. And somehow, the show skipped over that episode, saw the one line she has in 12 episodes about not wanting to cheat, and was like, that's Yumiko. This show has such a major problem where there's no consequence to losing. Why the show was so good is because there were stakes. Like, what happens if Yumiko loses to Suki? I have no idea. She would have become a house pet maybe, but they don't really say that for sure. And even then, the show doesn't explain what a house pet is, and we haven't seen one treated that badly. What happens to Suki if he loses? The answer is nothing. So by the end of this episode, it's revealed that Suki has died. And since I already spoiled it a little bit, you know what kind of death that is. We love fake outs in this house. Dori. I didn't think it was possible, but somehow the show made her worse. In the anime, Midori is weird and creepy and overly sensual. Yumiko is basically the audience in the episode that she has to gamble with her because she's absolutely disgusted by this woman. She's not disgusted for the same reasons that we are because she's insane, but she still is disgusted. And you feel kind of vindicated through her because you're like, even Yumiko, through all her insanity, finds this person beneath her. But the show, no, that doesn't happen. Yumiko has a good time with her. She's not sensual, but she's still weird and like borderline sexual assaulty. It's worse in the show because no one calls her out on it. The show gives her a sad backstory, and it's like, watching it, you could not find me caring less about anything in my life. Because in the show, she starts to stalk Michael. She becomes obsessed with him, and then he, by the end, likes her. I've noticed in this show that the women get away with everything. I don't want to say it because I feel like someone could easily use it to be like, hey, woke, you agree? Like, no, I don't. But like, it's true. Like Dori, she's like, oh, I watch you sleep. Okay. She's somehow worse than Midori because it's sexual harassment. She's always insisting that they're on a date even when he says no, they're not. Like, watching her scenes, I can't help but think if the genders were reversed, you know? Because if the genders were reversed, I feel like think pieces would be made about it all day. Even after he's creeped out by her, she still watches him. She sees him on his camera because she hacked into it. She can do that. And she sees him crying on his camera through the camera that she hacked. And then she goes to comfort him, which makes me uncomfortable. But then he leans on her leg. I don't want to watch anymore. That's what that made me feel. The next episode, half the episode is dedicated to Ryan's virginity. The whole school makes a bet on if he'll lose his virginity that night. And he's constantly sexually harassed and borderline assaulted because people are like, oh, you want to lose it with me? I bet on you losing your virginity. What about me? I want to lose it. Men, women, I'm glad you guys are inclusive in the sexual assault. Like, it's just so bad. And it's like, what if the genders were reversed? What if it was Yumiko and everyone was fiending after her virginity? And I'd like to remind you, a lot of the episodes were written, produced, and directed by a man. Yumiko just looks awful. Yumiko and Mary look awful. Speaking of Mary that I forgot, the way that I defended her looking like the anime character, she only wears that hairstyle in 2 out of 10 episodes. What makes Yumiko so awful is that Mary is like, hey, I put a bet on him losing his virginity. So can you go sleep with him? And she's like, okay. And then she goes. She gets him alone in the room and he's like, please don't tell me you're doing this just because of the bet. And she's like, yeah, I am. Does no one see how messed up in the writing room? Does no one see how messed up that is? You're no Angelo Lagusa, I'll tell you that. Like, in 91 Days, on his revenge path, he never pretends to be a good person. And you know he's not. 91 Days is a tragedy. You're not watching a hero and a villain. Like, he's never portrayed as being like the one who's going to take down the mob. He's not portrayed as like, you're shaking up the school and making and giving people something to believe confident, fight back for. No, he's not a good guy. He's not doing good things, but you know it. Like, you're never getting mixed signals like you are with this show. But here, you see your protagonist agree to sleep with someone who likes her. You've literally spent half this episode seeing him get hounded. And then Yumiko comes along and she's like, I'll sleep with you, which is what he wants. It's kind of heartbreaking because he's like, tell me this is not for the bet. And she's like, yeah, it is. Let's do it. And he's like, no. And she doesn't understand because her personality turned off. I don't know. But it's really messed up. Mary is also the worst in this episode. I mean, Ryan's dad is dead, and Mary starts this rumor that Ryan killed his father. It was sort of a cliffhanger in the last episode, and literally it's revealed as Mary having read the rumor just to make him more appealing to people, which is heinous behavior. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people watched this show and were turned off from the anime. And it's never brought up again. Oh, but at the end of the episode, she's the only one that remembered it was his birthday and got him a cupcake. Yeah, that makes her likable compared to what she did earlier in that episode. That's how that works, writers. This is Baby's first series. I don't know what to tell you. Also, there are these houses. It's like if the houses at Hogwarts had no purpose. Like, hey, you're Gryffindor. Don't change anything about yourself or your schedule. You get that title. Congrats. There's the Diamond House, the Clubhouse, the Heart House, the Spades House. And to this day, I don't know the difference between the houses. Except all the main characters are in the Heart House. Except Michael, because he doesn't gamble. Kira and Riri are in the Spade House, and the Spade House always wins. That's all I can tell you about House Wars. I haven't talked about the Student Council President Kira all that much. You know why? Because I was correct. I was 100% correct. Call me Apollo, because I have the gift of prophecy. She has a chip on her shoulder because she has daddy issues. She's jealous of her sister because she gets more attention from daddy. She has tension with her mother because she's trying to mold her to be a good daughter for her dad, but the dad also seemingly abuses the mom, which Kira doesn't like. Kira's trying to constantly prove herself to her father and prove that she's worthy of being the head of the school, which is exactly what I said she'd be. So there's not really much to talk about. For some reason, there's like a prom night. And the bet on prom night is whoever is voted as the best couple of the night, or like the best people of the night, get to be king and queen. What do they win if they're king and queen? Anyway, what do they lose if they lose the bet? At the end of the episode, for I think Kira's amusement, Ryan and Yumiko are forced to gamble each other. Yumiko loses on purpose because Ryan was initially trying to lose on purpose, and she's like, no, that's no fun. And so they both try to lose on purpose, and then Ryan wins. And she becomes his house pet. And in the next episode, that's when they show you that a house pet is treated terribly. The ones who treat the house pets terribly on screen are all the student council, even though they have so many extras in this show, and they couldn't even get them to like do anything. There's discount Hunger Games. We have Hunger Games at home. It's called the House Pet Hunt. There's something about them needing to get an egg, and they have to go out into the woods while they're being hunted. And Yumiko gets shot in the leg, like literally, because for some reason, which is another mark that they didn't watch Kakegurui, they think that the games should have violence in them, like physical violence. I have no idea where they get this from. Honestly, what makes Kakegurui the anime so compelling is the psychological damage that Yumiko does to her opponents. Like, physical damage compared to that is so boring, but that's what they think this is, because they can't do the psychological damage. No one here gets psychologically damaged. Except the only good game is a game where they both have to put their finger, her and Mary, because they have the third act fight, and they have to put their finger in a hole and they have to cut straight with the blade on top. It's the only good game because you can see both actors actually acting. They're both kind of losing their minds as the game progresses. And Yumiko, to be honest, is kind of the worst actor in this show. Hold on, it's complicated. For about 8 episodes, Yumiko's actress is the only one that's overacting, like trying to do the dramatic anime acting. It makes her stand out, but not in a good way, because no one else is overacting. She just looks like she's not doing a good job. She overacts so much, and the rest of them are just straight-faced. Suki getting up and running away crying was dramatic, but at the same time it was so stupid how she won that I don't even think I focused on it. In the house pet hunt, it's said that if you leave the forest, you get expelled from the school. And it's like, cool, but what do you get if you win? Also, I forgot about the revenge plot, to be honest. Yumiko, upon discovering that her roommate's dad might possibly possibly be connected to her parents' murder, she immediately decides to build a device that would make him do what her parents did. And I have to be very careful not to use the B word. She's an honorable gambler who builds this in the library, and she's perfectly willing to put that under his chair when he goes to his daughter's recital at the school. I don't know if it's just her recital, but she's the only one that performs. She doesn't have any concrete evidence that he was involved, but she's perfectly willing to unalive him because he maybe possibly could be involved, which is great. Like, I'm getting mixed signals here. Like, what kind of person is Yumiko? Like, Michael is the one who helps her finish her device, and he is constantly begging her not to do it. You're really gonna do this to your roommate's dad? And she's like, yeah. So she puts it under the seat, but oh no, he sat at the wrong seat, so she has to convince him to move. Real psychological stuff here. She presses the button, and it doesn't work. And it turns out that Michael sabotaged the device, and she gets mad at him for this, not allowing her to commit unalive as she wants. How am I supposed to feel about that? It turns out that Michael's dad could maybe, possibly, probably, maybe, possibly be involved in what happened to Yumiko's parents. And he hides it from her once she finds out, because of course she finds out eventually. She's so angry at him for it, even though that means that she's going to try and do something similar to his dad. I mean, she doesn't see anything past her revenge, which is why I say she's Angelo from Timu. You may ask what happened to Yumiko's guardian from the beginning of the series. Anyway, her friend does her parents, and Yumiko is happy about this because that means that the dad died, even though her roommate also was in the car. So Kira suspects that Yumiko had something to do with this, which she didn't. It just so happened that after she was trying to get rid of him, someone else got rid of him. It turns out that someone else is Kira's sister, Riri, because her dad told her to. Such riveting stuff, I know. So Yumiko is so desperate by the 8th episode, to get into the top 10 of the school, which would make her, I guess, I don't even know how it works because they don't explain it. They don't explain anything. Okay, she's able to go to the school board retreat where all the old influential families are, and she can maybe make connections for her future, I guess. But like, I wish we saw somebody who went to a school board retreat and then came back as an alumni, and maybe he's like a powerful politician or something to show that there's value in going to this school board retreat. But instead they just tell us, school board retreat important. Yumiko wants to go to school board retreat because all the parents will be there of the people that she suspects. It's important that she gets to top 10 so she can go to school board retreat. But like, why do other students want to go? Why do they think that they would be capable of making connections with all of these people? It doesn't matter. We don't get to know who else is on the top 10 except for Mary, who during the game where she loses her sanity a little bit, the blade comes down and cuts her finger, and we see it on screen because violence is good. There's this beaver character. Basically, the beaver is random equals funny. It's like a guy in a beaver mascot, and it's a grown adult. He beats up Michael one time. Like, it's literally random equals funny. I cannot for the life of me think of what his purpose was. Wouldn't it be funny if there was this beaver character that stalked you around the school? Wouldn't it be funny? No. Yumiko, despite Michael's efforts, I almost called him Ryan, she ends up going to the school board retreat. And if the plot says that she needs to, if there are so many powerful people at this retreat who are like old friends and they were all part of the Kakegurui club, you don't think they would do a background check on Yumiko, especially since this is set in America? Like, yeah, she has a fake name and she has a fake social media presence, but I think these people have the connections to find out that you're not who you say you are. Like, she just took on the last name of her guardian. It's not like she had a whole secret identity. I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty easy if they looked into it to find out that those two people are not related. But nah, the security is real lax. And for some reason they give us the purge at home because they set up this game where they put money in rolled up bills in a pig head, and then they tell the servants at the retreat, fight over it, and they watch and comment on it. And it's riveting. You know why it's so riveting? Because again, there are no stakes. What do they get if they win? You would think the money, but not really, because Ryan manages to get the money because he and Michael sneak there even though they're not invited because Michael doesn't want his dad to die. And Ryan, for some reason at this point, because the plot tells him he needs to, he's on board with Yumiko possibly unaliving all these people. Maybe he did unalive his dad because like he's just on board with this because he loves her. Sure. Ryan manages to get the money, and then they duct tape it into his mouth. Like the other servants, they turn on him and duct tape it into his mouth. And then he runs around the garden and they chase him, and one of them wears a boar mask. Because Squid Games and the rich people, you saw that show, right? Yumiko has poison because she carries poison around. I think she had it at the very beginning of the series. Where has she been keeping it? Who knows? She just pulls out a vial of poison, pours it in a scotch drink, and attempts multiple times to give the drink to Michael's dad, but he gets distracted and pulled away. Kira and Riri are half siblings, and that's another thing between them that I don't care about. So the dad is Russian. He really seems like a Russian mobster or something because he actively prefers Riri to Kira, and that gives her a complex. He's giving a speech or something, and then Yumiko takes her eyes off the glass, and then when she looks back, it's gone. And it turns out Kira has it because Kira found out her identity. And then she's like, you know, if you're not who I think you are, just drink it. Yumiko kisses her and I guess spits it down her throat. First of all, if someone was spitting liquid into my mouth, it would immediately come back out. Now they're both poisoned, and they have to play blackjack, which was pretty much the embodiment of all the problems with the games in this show. They have the dealer be Mary. When she's going to explain the rules, she says, if you don't know the rules to this game, you shouldn't be at this school. And then she doesn't explain the rules, which made it so fun to watch. I know the concept of the game. Get to 21, don't go over. But I don't know what all the cards mean. Of course, the cards with actual numbers on them, it's pretty self-explanatory, but they're just putting down these cards and I'm looking at them like, yep, those are cards, all right. After only a few seconds, they start just going, Yumiko wins, Kira wins, Yumiko wins, Kira wins. And it's so boring because you might as well have had a black screen and just had text on it. And then at the end, Mary wins, the house wins. She decides to enter the game, I guess, because we've never seen the house win before this and we haven't seen her put down any cards. She was probably in it before, but we didn't see it. So it looks like she just enters the game to make them draw. What do I know? Maybe it's just the editing. The editing in the last 2 episodes are especially bad. But Mary wins, which makes it so that they both take the antidote of the poison. Also, while they're playing, they start tripping out because the poison starts working in both of them. Everyone around them must just think they're going through heat stroke at the same time because no one questions it. They become friends from that, even though she poisoned you. Kira goes to throw up in the bathroom and Yumiko holds her hair back, and I guess that's for the girlies. What do I know? Kira decides to help Yumiko kill Michael's dad, which is great. Michael's dad realizes that who she is because Michael tries to warn his dad. He's like, please dad, just leave. And he's like, nah, I'll take care of it. And so he confronts Yumiko alone. He has a gun, but he doesn't use it. Even though if this were real America and not fake America, Yumiko would be dead. Because it's said that Michael's dad is a real gangster. I have no idea what that means. Those are the exact words he uses. My dad is a real gangster. If anyone could tell me what that means, he's like, Yumiko, come with me alone in this room where no one will be but you and me. He herds her into the room and dies. Because Kira comes in, hands her a scotch glass with scotch in it, and it has the poison in it. Or it just has the stir that she used that still has poison on it, even though it's in a different drink. She takes the stirrer and stabs him with it, and that injects the poison. And of course, because Kira and Yumiko were the main characters, the poison took a full hour to work on them, but he dies within 20 seconds. And he's also like, your mother is still alive. And she's like, what? What? And then he dies because cliche is just a mindset. And then Kira comes in and she's like, I'll pin this on my dad because I have a complex. What a coincidence that you picked me to be your partner, even though you didn't know this. I'll give you a 5-second head start for you to get out of here. And she does. And Ryan is waiting to pick her up cause, and he's like, is it over? And she looks at the camera and smirks and is like, we're only at the beginning. And I'm sorry to tell you, you're at the end. My rating of the show is it would be a very good show to sleep to because it would bore you to death. Honestly, after I finished the show, I thought of the Miyazaki quote, anime is a mistake and it's a live action show. So I think that should tell you all you need to know about my feelings about it. That was literally my first thought. I was like, anime is a mistake. This isn't an anime brain. Anyway, I'm gonna leave a dislike on Netflix and try to forget that ever happened. I hope you enjoyed my rant review. If there's a second season, I'm not watching it. So I hope you guys have a good day. Later.